What's up, guys? Your agent Tyler Wehrung here with Keller Williams, and today we're going to talk about equity. We're going to talk about what it is, how you get it, how do you get it and build it, what you can do with it, why it's even important to you, and then lastly we'll look at an example from an investment perspective on the power of equity. So with that, let's jump in. Alright guys, so we know equity is a pretty basic concept, but we do get a lot of questions around kind of what it is or how do you build it, how does it build up. So we thought we'd shoot a quick video on kind of the power of equity and all the details around it. So basically equity is what the home is worth minus what you owe on it, and it's the difference between the two. So we're going to use this nice, beautiful two-story home here on 123 Main Street as an example to just kind of provide a visual reference for those like myself who are more visual learners. So we're going to use this $100,000 house in several examples in this video. Alright, so this house is worth $100,000. We're going to assume that's the market value, and that's also the purchase price that we're going to buy it for. We've been approved for 10% down on this, so we're going to put $10,000 down, which will bring our loan balance to $90,000. So this picture will not be to scale, but we'll assume here this is $90K. This is our loan balance. Oh, that's pitiful handwriting. All right, so $90K loan balance, because we put that $10,000 down when we originally bought the home. So the difference between the two here, $10K, that's your equity. That's the equity going in on day one when you first buy the home. You're starting with $10,000 in equity. So pretty simple concept, but it can get confusing with some other factors that we'll talk about here in a second. But from a basic standpoint, that is equity. Alright, so how do you get it or how do you build it? And there's two primary ways that equity establishes itself. One is natural and the other is forced. So first we'll talk about the natural way that equity is built. So like we said before, $10,000 is your equity position on day one when you first buy the home. But real estate naturally appreciates historically over time. Now it won't do this in every market, but for this example we're going to use the historic appreciation rate. It's kind of back to 1940s. Real estate has appreciated on average around 5%. So we're going to use that for this example. So every year this value of this home is going to go up by 5% or $5,000 since we're using $100,000. So in a year from now, this home will now be worth $105,000. So the value will start to creep up. And at the same time, you're making loan payments that have a principal pay down in it. So every payment that you make to the bank on the mortgage, a portion of that's going to go towards paying down the principal, paying down this $90,000, and the other piece of that will just be interest to the bank. So essentially, if we look out 1 year from now, this $90K is going to be slightly eroded because of 12 months of mortgage payments. We'll have principal reduction there. So you can see naturally, as the real estate values go up and the principal payments go down, over time you naturally build equity. And now we'll talk about the other way that equity is built, and that's more of a forced, or some people call it sweat equity, if you've heard of that. But that's where you have a little more control or some skin in the game. So this top number here is going to be what the market value of the home is. So you do have some control over the value of your home through things like remodeling, updating kitchens, bathrooms, things like that. Maybe you bought this home that was just completely gutted and you went in and cleaned it out. Maybe this home and all of the comparables are in the $200,000 range if they are up to that market standard. So if you have bought this home as kind of a flip or a fixer-upper, you could see just by maybe it took you $30,000 to get it up to par. You've kind of remodeled it completely, and now it's worth, if this number was 200 and your 90 plus your 30 that you put into it will put you at 120. These are just off the top numbers here. But you can see now you have an equity position of 80,000, the difference between 200 and 120. So there is a way to have some manipulation here into what your equity position in the home is via forced or sweat equity, by kind of putting some effort in to bring the home value up. Now that's not always the case if you buy a home that's already kind of at its highest and best use and it's in great shape. Maybe you have to kind of wait over time, but you can keep that home in that nice shape to make sure your equity position is secure. All right, let's take a look at another example here on 123 Main Street, kind of expanding this out to 5 years and what that does to your equity position. It'll show you the true wealth building power of real estate, and we'll look at it from a return on investment standpoint. So taking this out 5 years using the natural 5% appreciation rate, this will put the value 5 years from today at 127K, 5 years. So you can see the value has gone up to 127K, and the loan amount has gone down to 81,000, so 81K. So you can see that just in 5 short years, your equity has now built to a position of 36K. And over time, that just continues to expand and kind of grow apart, ideally in an appreciating market. However, if the market downturns, you can see how this could impact your equity going the other way. But that just shows you in 5 years from now, you, in this example, you would have $36,000 of equity. Now, the reason that that's so important, and from a return on investment standpoint, to truly build wealth in real estate. So, a lot of people would say, okay, $36,000 in increase on a $100,000 investment, that would be a 36% return over 5 years. Annualized, you're looking at upwards of 7-8%. Don't judge my public math, but that's not the right way to analyze it. So you have to look at this from your investment. You only put down $10,000. And now your $10,000 is worth $36,000. So that, my friends, is a 364. So that is an excellent return on investment. I won't even try to do the annualized math there, but you can see it's a great return because you put so little down and you're still getting the full appreciation of the total amount of the asset. That's one of the reasons we really love real estate, and that's kind of the wealth building power over time. If you buy it right and the natural effects go into play, you can see how this really can change your life. All right, so lastly, we'll talk about why is equity even important, what you can do with it, and how to tap into it. So I'm not going to go too into details here because this truly does deserve its own video. I'm going to be very cautious about suggesting that you re-leverage yourself any deeper into debt without knowing all the risks associated and to make sure you're making a responsible decision. But the ways you can access this $36,000 in equity, there is something called a home equity line of credit, a HELOC, where a bank will essentially give you temporary access to this kind of in the form of a credit, where you could use a portion of this and then pay the bank back. But unlike a credit card where you have to apply for a credit limit, you're essentially just using this and it's recorded as a second note on the home. You could also do a cash out refinance where you're refinancing for a higher amount than the $100,000, but although you still owe a lower amount, you could potentially get a check at closing and just finance for that higher amount, although your payment would increase. Again, we'll dig deeper on this topic, but just want to let you know. And then lastly, when you sell the asset. So when you sell this home, let's use this example, you sell it for $127,000. At the end, after commissions, closing costs, things like that, you're going to pay this balance off. You're going to pay the 81 off, and then everything in between is yours to keep. Now, if this is your personal residence, this would be a tax-free gain, but please consult a tax professional before you make any tax-related decisions. But in 2021, as a married couple, you can sell a home with a $500,000 gain, and it's tax-free as long as it's your personal residence, and you can only do it every 2 years. But again, talk to a tax professional about your situation. All right, guys, so I hope this was helpful, at least give you some visual references on equity, what it is, how do you build it, and why does it even matter in the first place. If you have any questions at all, drop them in the comments below. I'd also like a comment below on your thoughts here. If you have a different example, if you've used equity or you've forced equity in any of your homes, I'd love to hear a story about it. Just some quick and dirty numbers that would give viewers just a quick example from someone other than myself on 123 Main Street, although this is a beautiful home. All right, guys, so with that, we'll go ahead and wrap. I'm Tyler with Keller Williams. As always, I would appreciate a like or subscribe on the video. I appreciate you checking out the channel. We'll catch you next time. See ya.